And I feel, and the CIA officers and veterans I talk to feel, that this is a very dangerous moment, as dangerous as the months before 9/11. And with these people in charge of American national security, the risk of an intelligence failure and the risk of a surprise attack is rising.
So I was particularly interested in an article, which is actually an excerpt or adapted from a book. The article is called How CIA Insiders View the Trump Era. The book is called The Mission, The CIA in the 21st Century. It is by Tim Weiner, who also won the Pulitzer Prize for his reporting on U.S. national security, and he won the National Book Award for his book Legacy of Ashes, The History of the CIA. So this is someone who knows the CIA well, has been writing about the CIA for decades now, and has this new book out that's excerpted in foreignpolicy.com with the headline, How CIA Insiders View the Trump Era. And Tim Weiner joins us now. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
All right. So, Tim, first, let me just ask you the big picture question. Then I want to ask you some specifics about what I read here. How do CIA insiders view the Trump era?
Well, Trump has appointed a director, John Ratcliffe, who's a MAGA acolyte. And in 7 short months, he has lost the building. There is great trepidation over what he has done so far. He has keelhauled the CIA's most experienced and decorated spies. He has told both the spies and the analysts that they better get in line with Trump's view of the world or find another job. He has fired everybody the CIA hired in 23 and 24 because they were Biden hires. Most of those people were slated to go work on China. He has abolished the CIA's longstanding policies on diversity in hiring. The CIA wants to hire African American, Asian American, Latino American, Arab American people to work in countries like China, Sudan, Pakistan, on the very good precept that sending an all-white cadre to spy in places like that is terrible tradecraft. There's a lot more, but the gist is that Ratcliffe, Trump's appointee, at the president's behest, has begun an ideological purge of the CIA's best and brightest people.
Now, I think many who follow news knew that the Trump administration has been on a mission to avoid DEI hires, but I hadn't thought of it in the context of the way you just laid it out, which is, are you being told by people on the inside of the CIA that they are now not hiring people of color or people who have a background from the countries that they would be going to in favor of trying to make sure that the people, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say make sure the people are white, but at least make sure that the background or race of the people, even if it's directly relevant, can't be taken into consideration?
They're basically looking for an all-white, all-male cadre of spies. And, there aren't enough Mission Impossible masks in the world to send people undercover to countries where white people are not in the majority to make that work. And they're doing it all for the ideological precept that diversity is bad. Diversity in the clandestine service of the CIA is a superpower. It's how they don't get caught.
I think that they would argue, right? I mean, I can just imagine their response, right? If I had a representative from the Trump administration on the show right now, their position would be, well, we just oppose hiring people based on their race just because people want diversity. What you're saying is that this isn't even about that there are specific strategic advantages to having people of particular races and backgrounds, and those people are being passed over?
Fired. The people who implemented these policies, which have been in place since the 80s, have been fired. People who are not white men are not getting hired. And of the white men, who are on the payroll, you have to pass a purity test, a loyalty test, an ideological test. You have to answer correctly questions like, who really won the 2020 election? If you were, as so many of the CIA's top spies have been, deeply involved in supporting the survival of Ukraine since the first Russian invasion of 2014, you're not going anywhere. If you are an analyst who is trying to report that Putin today in Alaska is going to manipulate Trump, your voice is not going to be heard. And Trump's chosen director, John Ratcliffe, was hired for that job because he will never tell Trump something that Trump doesn't want to hear. And that is not the job direction. That is not the job description of the CIA director.
Talking to Tim Weiner, Pulitzer Prize winning author, who has written now is this your second book or more on the CIA?
I've written 7 books, and 5 of them are either directly or indirectly about CIA, national security, and intelligence.
Okay. So when people ask, well, how would your guest know? The reality is you're probably one of the best connected journalists in the country when it comes to the inner workings of the CIA. Fair to say?
Well, I've been at this for 38 years now, and if you hang around long enough, people start to trust you, I guess.
Right, and that's the key, is that people will talk to you. I want to read a line from the excerpt in foreignpolicy.com. It says, the CIA officers had been fighting the Kremlin ever since the agency's creation in 1947. They depend mightily on secret liaisons with scores of foreign intelligence services. They cannot think globally without that help. Now Trump has made U.S. allies wary of sharing secrets with Washington. Explain to us what you meant by that.
The CIA cannot on its own cover the globe. It relies on the liaison with and cooperation from foreign intelligence services of U.S. allies and countries that you would never think of as U.S. allies. Trump has broken alliances. He has put as the intelligence czar Tulsi Gabbard, who is a conspiracy theorist, a Putin apologist, and has no regard for CIA tradecraft. And people abroad are reluctant to share secrets with the United States with someone like her or someone like Ratcliffe in charge. The deeper problem is that the CIA, when it gathers intelligence, which is its core mission, relies on recruiting foreigners to spy for the United States. And the great advantage the CIA had during the 20th century is that the United States, for all its admitted flaws, stood for freedom and democracy in the world. We don't stand for that anymore, man. The lights in the shining city of the hill are going out. And it is harder to convince people to risk their lives to spy for the United States when the president allies himself with dictators and despots.
Now, you know, when you make sort of broad comments like that, right, there are going to be some Trump supporters who are going to listen and they're going to say, oh, well, this guy's just out to get Trump, right? This guy hates Trump. What would you say to those people, right, who are listening right now, who support Donald Trump, who are going to say, I'm listening to Tim Weiner. Oh, it's interesting. Sounds like he's got great contacts, but the guy hates Trump. And as a result, I can't really trust what he's saying.
I don't hate Donald Trump. What I want to point out is that Trump is an ideologue. He has fixed ideas. Ideology is the enemy of intelligence. If you're an ideologue, your mind's made up. You don't need to be confused with facts or intelligence reporting. Trump fears and detests and disdains the CIA. When he uses the word intelligence, he puts it in scare quotes. And one of the reasons that he really hates and fears the CIA is that he thinks, mistakenly, that it is the capital of the deep state. Well, first of all, there is no deep state. And second of all, the CIA is not a political organization. It serves Republicans and Democrats by gathering intelligence to protect and defend the United States. You know, Trump has put in charge of American national security Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon. He's an amateur. He doesn't know anything about running the Pentagon. Tulsi Gabbard, conspiracy theorist as intelligence czar. Kash Patel at FBI, who is ruining, destroying, dismantling the FBI's Intelligence and National Security Division, and the MAGA acolyte, John Ratcliffe at CIA. These people do not know what they're doing. And it is a very dangerous thing to have amateurs running American national security. And I feel, and the CIA officers and veterans I talk to feel, that this is a very dangerous moment, as dangerous as the months before 9/11. And with these people in charge of American national security, the risk of an intelligence failure and the risk of a surprise attack is rising.
I was going to ask you what the folks you're talking to are worried about most, and it sounds like you just answered that, right?
That's what they're worried about.
Now, look, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but I've thought about this a lot. When we talk about politicization, this and that, there's never been a Democrat who's run the FBI ever. There's been an independent.
Correct.
There's been Republicans. Almost every time it's been a Republican. And every time someone talks to me about how biased the FBI and CIA are, I'm always curious about this, because this idea that all these far lefties go into law enforcement just doesn't seem to, like, I can say if they were all criminal defense lawyers, okay, the vast majority of criminal defense lawyers in this country are going to be Democrats, they're going to be liberals. The vast majority of people in law enforcement in this country are typically going to be, regardless of the party, pro-law enforcement. They're going to be probably right of center. When it comes to the folks in the CIA, do you have any sense overall of what the political leanings are of folks who go work at the CIA?
The spies, the officers at the clandestine service, most of them who rise to the top are military veterans. Many of them Marines, many of them SEALs. These people are not card-carrying members of the ACLU. Among the analysts, things skew a little more liberal. These are people, who have PhDs in their fields of expertise. But certainly among the top cadres, skews right. The buildings would skew right.
Among the top cadre of the CIA.
Yep. I mean, Look, John Ratcliffe just destroyed the career of the former chief of the CIA's clandestine service, Tom Sylvester, who, as is tradition after you are the top spy master, was slated to do a last tour as chief of the London station and liaison to our most important intelligence partner, the Brits. Ratcliffe canceled that appointment because Ratcliffe believed that Sylvester was disloyal for talking to me and for voicing support for Ukraine. That is no way to run the clandestine service. Sylvester is among the most decorated officers in CIA history. This is the guy who helped steal Vladimir Putin's war plans straight out of the Kremlin and warn the world about the coming invasion of Ukraine. This is a guy who 20 years ago was up on a ridgetop in Iraq, 22 years ago, running an operation to penetrate, subvert, and undermine Saddam Hussein's military and intelligence services. This is not a member of the Democratic Socialists. This is a guy who's a Navy SEAL and who had a 34-year CIA career, 34-year career at CIA, really unparalleled. So and you get rid of him because he's a supporter of Ukraine.
And you said that they got rid of him because he spoke to you. He spoke to you on the record, correct?
We were at CIA headquarters. We were on the record. and we were attended by the chief of public affairs.
I just wanted to make it clear. So people,
I just wanted to, and it was before Trump's election.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
And he didn't say anything about Trump. He didn't say anything. Trump wasn't president.
Right.
He was talking about the importance of American support for Ukraine.
Right. The reason I wanted to highlight that was to say, I wanted to make it clear it wasn't that he leaked information to you, that this was on the record. Okay.
God,
which
no.
I think is a very important distinction when it comes to the CIA.
Right. And everything in this book is on the record. There aren't any anonymous sources in the book. There aren't any blind quotes. That's how I work, because I want readers to trust what they read.
The book is called The Mission, The CIA in the 21st Century by Tim Weiner. It is available now, and there is, as I said, an adaptation at excerpt in foreignpolicy.com. Tim Weiner, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the program. Really appreciate it.